just of a simple topic, kind of a health tip. I haven't done health tip videos in quite some time. I have been on a wild healing journey. And there's a lot I want to talk about. There's a lot I want to share and give people advice on. And that's always been my goal. But today I finally sitting down to talk about, I want to talk about intuitive eating. I want to talk about the side of intuitive eating that isn't expressed enough online, in my opinion, from what I've seen and what I've researched. I think intuitive eating is an amazing tool. Really, I do, and I think it's a really beautiful way to connect with yourself internally. But if you're shifting out of an eating disorder, any of them, your biggest problem is the disconnection you have from your body anyways. So intuitive eating is not a flip of a coin. It's not easy. You don't have a sense of intuition. You're completely disconnected from your body by being obsessive with your body. I'll elaborate on that a little bit more. Especially if you're coming out of binge eating or orthorexia, bulimia, where it's overindulgence, where you're looking at patterns of overindulgence first. When you're overindulging, you're triggered. You're in a place where you're trying to escape the bad feeling, or you're in a place where you're trying to bring yourself to the ground. You're trying to put yourself in pain to avoid a different pain. Essentially, you're taking control by avoiding something, by going in this direction where you're overindulging to a point where you're not actually connected to your body. You don't know what your body actually needs or is asking you for, and it's most likely not even food. It's usually safety, it's usually security, it's usually nourishing your inner child. It's something that you're lacking, something that you're trying to fill the void for. And people binge in a number of different ways. And that's something that I've had previously. I've teetered on a few different eating disorders. And I can tell you, it's so complex why you stick with it for so long, or why it's a pattern that really isn't something you feel you can break, because you've never really addressed the main issue. And the main issue isn't what you're eating, it's not your body, it's something else. Not to say that your goals aren't valid or that you could be healthier. Absolutely, you could be healthier. We could all be healthier. That you have a goal body in mind, or you're on this journey medically because you need this. Not to say that those are all very valid, but you didn't get there for no reason. You didn't get there because you just fell asleep. Like, you put in a lot of work to form those habits, to essentially soothe yourself in some way, and to cope. And breaking coping mechanisms is so hard. It's so hard. So the thought of intuition is amazing and it's beautiful, but quick break. Back to my tangent that I was going on. Intuitive eating only works if you are able to be present in your body. And for the majority of eating disorders, of illnesses in your body, you're not in your body. You're disconnected from your body. You wouldn't have put your body in so much damage if you weren't in your body. If you weren't in your feelings. If you weren't connected to yourself. The greatest form of self-love comes when we do not abuse ourselves. And when we are awake and we realize we are abusing ourselves. We are perpetuating things that we don't want because we're afraid. Because we're avoiding the things that we're even more terrified of. And that's a hard place to be. That's a hard place to be. So, let's see if I can wrap this up a little bit better. If you're in a place where you're trying intuitive eating and you don't feel like it's paying off, or you feel like it's exacerbating the problem, or it's making it worse, or if you're not understanding the step-by-step, that's because intuitive eating might not be the place to start. Even if you've started, even if you've gone so far into intuitive eating, like months, and you should probably be doing deep dives into yourself, into shadow work, into therapy, into healing your inner child, into feeling your emotions and figuring out, what are you actually avoiding? And those could be different things. They might not even make any sense. Some of them don't. For example, in like the pinnacle of my binge eating, I had limiting beliefs that I'm not enough. That's with everything and everyone. But when it comes to me, it's like I'm not enough to me. And that's the one that matters the most, or it did to me, is that I'm not enough to me. So binge eating was a way of self-sabotaging and proving that limiting belief over and over and over again, and amounting all of this evidence to say, yeah, you're right. You're not enough. Obviously. If you were enough, you'd have control over this problem. You've identified it as a problem, but you don't fix it because you need it. You need it to prove you're not enough. You're not beautiful. Now that's one aspect of it. There's so many different layers to things and why we start them. They can be plugged in anywhere. But I also was chronically dissociating. daydreaming through my life. And binge eating to the point of pain made me feel grounded. Because otherwise I didn't feel grounded. I didn't feel connected in the moment. I wasn't here. I was always drifting. So the pain of that kept me grounded. And the pain of starving kept me grounded, kept me present because I couldn't be present. It's too painful. But I wanted to be present. But I went about that in the worst possible way because I was abusing myself. In so many different ways. Food is just one of them. And we can get into other forms of self-sabotage in another. But so that's what I mean when they have layers. It could be multiple different reasons this coping mechanism works for you. Even though you're awake, you're like, this is a problem. This is causing me pain. This is hurting my body. This is causing me harm. This isn't the body that I imagine myself in. And, you've done all the work where you found a form of exercise that you love. And, you're building muscle and you're finally, taking care of yourself. You're trying to work on your sleep. And food feels like a constant yo-yo. And, intuitive eating is, this big trendy thing and it works for so many people. And you're like, why doesn't it work for me? It could be because the complexity of eating disorders just isn't talked about enough. Like maybe short stories aren't really shared enough. It could be because those people who intuitively eat have never had a problem disconnecting from their body. It comes very naturally. It could be a lot of things. But if you are someone who has tried everything and you're kind of over it, you're kind of done, and you want to throw your hat in the towel, or that's not the saying. Anyways, if you're done and you feel like nothing's worked, like no diets worked, intuitive eating doesn't even seem to work, your intuition is not on. It's not turned on. You don't know what your intuition is because you've buried it. Under trauma, under complexity, under insecurities, you've buried it. And because you've used eating as a coping mechanism instead of a way of nourishment, it's going to be way harder to break that if you're not aware what you're coping for, what you're trying to hide from, what you're not facing, what emotion you're not being present with and acknowledging. So, this is for, you tried everything. This is for, if you've done it all, this advice here. This advice. Stop thinking about food. And go into yourself. Stop obsessing about food. Stop obsessing over your body. But be present with it. Are you bloated? Take a note of that. You're bloated. You feel a heaviness. you feel depressed, sadness, grief, anxiety. What are you feeling in your body? Start to connect with what you're feeling. And they do say for emotional eating to take note of what emotion you're feeling when you go to eat. Take note. But don't judge. Do not shame. Just take note. You have to start being aware of what's happening in the present moment. That's the only way we can change it. The problem is, you get caught up in the present moment because this is not where you want to be. You want to be way over here, and you're stuck here. It sucks. It does. It sucks. The little teeny steps to get there, it sucks. Mm-hmm. But if you keep up with it, and you start to be aware of those feelings you're having, start to let them in, start to feel them in your own space, start to connect with the limiting beliefs as they come up, the stories we tell, the scenarios, the anxiety, the this is me, this always happens to me, this never those stories that go on a loop, those are not you. That is your inner child's coping mechanisms from a wound that was never healed, never addressed. That needs to be looked at first. Because I promise when you do all that work, you're way more compassionate about your body, food, relationship. When you're in a place where you have more compassion for yourself and you're so aware of how you're feeling and what's coming up for you and how to handle it, how to feel through it, how to move past it, you are in such a good place to heal so much in your life. You just move from a place of self-love, and hurting yourself and abusing yourself won't come easy anymore. More alarm bells will go off when you think about doing it, because that doesn't resonate with who you actually are. Because you've woken up, you know, and you're getting to know who you actually are. And that's not it. Self-sabotage, abuse, that's not it. That's not you. So get in touch with your emotions, the ones specifically that you're running from, that you're trying to hide. I promise you, they will not take over. They might feel like they do. And that might have to be a whole nother talk about what it feels like when you let all of these repressed emotions in, because it's a lot. It's a lot. It does feel really overwhelming, but that'll be a separate talk. But as it pertains to your relationship with food, it will help enormously. You will wake up the intuition. You will find her again. You'll figure out how to eat and heal yourself. You'll figure it out. You've got to start with the inner work. Food is external. We gotta go in. We gotta go within and fix what wound is opened, or that we keep putting band-aids on and it's not fixing it. That's how we heal our body, our mind, with how we nourish ourselves with food. I hope this found you, if this is exactly what you needed to hear. Because I've been meaning to make this talk for a little bit now. Just because there are like eye-opening things I've been through with my journey, and everybody's individual story hits a little different for everyone else when you hear it, and sometimes things get picked up by others that resonate more. So I hope this resonated with you. I might make more of these talks where I just go off on a lot of different healing tools, maybe even emotions. Maybe I'll just get into the dark night of the soul or something where I explain like actually how to be in your body and feel emotions. But I'm still in a learning curve. So I want to be intentional with what I share and what I don't. But I'll definitely give you a disclaimer if this is something I'm currently working through or I have worked through. Intuitive eating is something I've nearly mastered. Nearly. Intuitive eating combined with my cycle has been the biggest game changer. So also, if you want me to get into breaking down the female cycle, it's absolutely bonkers and so different per woman. So if you're also thinking that hormones have something to do with it, you are right. And that's a very interesting topic as well. So that was my rant. That was my coffee talk per se about the problems I have with intuitive eating on media, that is. I don't have a problem with it as a tool. But yeah, that is my little tangent and shred of advice. This is kind of all over the place. I might do another one, I might not. But thank you so much for joining me. Bye.